Hi Aries, welcome to June. Welcome to Eclipse season. Welcome to retrograde season. Welcome to level 6 of Jumanji. But who loves a challenge? Aries loves a challenge. Ha ha ha. So Aries, that lunar eclipse in Sagittarius that's just passed was fellow fire sign energy, and it was pinging off some interesting points in your chart. So it was pinging off the Gemini energy, your communication sector. It was also pinging off Pisces, your 12th house. 12th house. Your ruler is Mars. So when it's in Pisces, it's kind of debilitated. It's kind of more into reflecting than acting, and you're a sign that's based on action. So even if it doesn't feel comfortable, it's still good for you. It's still good for you to reflect on the things that you're holding within yourself, the things that you are holding on to for fear of acknowledging, the things that you haven't quite made peace with yet. In retrograde season, it's a lot to do with making peace. Now, Mars is going to be in Pisces for most of this month, not all of it. It is going to go into your sign, and to have your ruler in your sign is very auspicious, and it's going to be there for 6 months. Possibly 7 months. It's going to be there right up until 2021, so you've got the rest of the year with your ruler in your sign, which is pretty impressive. Until then, there are a few doors that you need to close. There are a few ghosts that you need to make peace with. Be it someone who ghosted you, maybe literally, maybe that's the translation, or be it things and shadows from your past that you've never quite made peace with, that you've never quite taken the time to slow down and think about. That's kind of what's been coming up for you lately. I'm not saying that the whole of June is going to be this completely reflective period, because after all, it's Gemini season, and for you, Gemini is a lot to do with talking. We do have Venus retrograde in Gemini in your 3rd house, so talking, particularly romantically, is not quite your forte. And that's not to say that you're bad at it, but it's just saying that there's a sense of holding back feelings, a sense of holding back the things that you want to say, or even wanting to hold back conversations about money. Whatever it is that Venus is affected for you, I think for a lot of you, it's speaking from the heart is the hardest part. But with Mars being in Pisces, it's almost as if you need to look backwards in order to move forward. Now, a lot of the energies this month, and people will feel it more intensely in June. Just want to make that clear. Venus is retrograde. It's a lot to do with exes. You know, a lot of people quite simply are not even communicating, they're just watching. It's kind of, that's the kind of energy Venus retrograde brings. It doesn't mean that every ex that you have ends up at your door. It means that they could be stalking your Instagram. It means that they could be well, I actually don't know what anybody else does, because I'm a Scorpio, and when you're gone, you're gone. So it's just poof. I think you guys are kind of like that too, but basically what I'm saying, Aries, is that you have to look back a little bit. And I'm not saying that you have to revise anybody. For some of you, maybe that is the case, but I'm saying that you have to make peace with some things that hurt you, or things that you did that you're not proud of, or whatever it is, Aries. This time of reflection, while uncomfortable, has all been so that you can grow and propel yourself forward. Now, there's going to be a solar eclipse in your 4th house, which is Cancer, in the very 1st degree, so, well, it's 0 degrees, so within the 1st degree. And it's in your home sector, but it's also the sector that rules your soul. A lot of astrologers feel the 4th house is the soul. And it's a very sensitive part of the sky again, so a lot of this month you have to be very gentle with yourself, and it's okay to not feel as impulsive as usual. It's okay to not feel as driven as usual. It's okay to, ooh, 8 of Wands just popped out. It's okay to feel a bit confused, because it will all start to make sense at the end of the month. Communication will be good. Again, when Venus goes direct in Gemini, oh my goodness, there's you. Cards are already flipping, and I'm only drawing them this time. the Emperor, Mars in your sign, you are about to take off. Okay. Be prepared. You're going to take off at the end of the month. Things are going to start making sense. Interesting. Okay. We start off with the world. The Pluto-Jupiter conjunction at the end of the month is in your 10th house, the midheaven. It is where you present yourself to the world, your public image. And with the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction being the main part of 2020, your public image is important, especially Aries rising. The vibe that I get from the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction for this time, because it is slowed down with the retrograde motions, and of course a lot of people are linking it to the pandemic, but this is not about the pandemic, it's about you. And absolutely it is, but this particular energy for you is all about revising what it is that you want to bring to the world, what it is that you want to bring to the show, I guess, because it is a show. The 10th house is the image, it's the public image, it's the presentation. And I was reading a lot about the 10th house earlier, and it's oftentimes the way we want people to see us, the way we want people to describe us. You know, if you were... I heard somebody say the other day they would love to, and this is dark, bear in mind, they said that they would love to know how they would be described if they went missing, you know, what people would say about them. So it's kind of that, it's kind of like how people would talk about you if you were famous or if you were a subject of conversation. The Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is asking you to revise what it is that you are putting forward into the world, but mostly in terms of work. For a lot of you, the lunar eclipse in Sagittarius has removed possibly a particular move or a travel plan. I think for a lot of Aries, the 9th house, 4th house, eclipses for you are a lot to do about where you want to live in the world, where you want to put yourself, where you fit in. And for sure, a lot of you are moving. 6 of Swords, possibly overseas. The world in the 6 of Swords is also, if not a physical move, a mental move. It's a move into a new stage of life, and a pretty significant stage at that. For a lot of you, you could be going through your Saturn return, but I think that this is moving forward with a new set of ideals and a new set of principles in particular, as that 9th house gives you. 3 of Cups. And the 2 of Cups. Interesting. Saturn is in Aquarius, and that is your sector of friendships. Now, it will retrograde back into Capricorn, but before it does, a lot of you could be reunited with old friends. A lot of you could be reunited with old acquaintances. I think for a lot of you, with the sense of a new phase, it's a new phase for a lot of you in romance, but it's a big new phase in the way that you connect to people. Particularly people that aren't necessarily like you, particularly people that aren't necessarily aligned with your ideals and your principles. Not that they have, you know, not that because they think differently it's a bad thing. I think in terms of debate and interests, you could really find yourself having some very interesting conversations over the summer. For many of you, these spark to engagements, to new relationships, to new romantic interests. For some of you, it is something worth celebrating romantically, would be the gist of this. Okay. For sure, some of you are getting engaged. Ace of Pentacles. It's very much to do with drawing in a phase of life where people can give to you, right? It's very much a place where people can give and receive freely, where there's reciprocity, where there's reason to celebrate as a unit. The 3 of Cups can also speak to pregnancies, it can speak to business ventures, successful business ventures, it can speak to a lot of interesting energies. For you in the sky, it is quite interesting to know that any connections made are made on a soul level. A very sensitive and romantic side of you will come out in your relationships because of the water signs, because of the Mars and Pisces aspect, because of the Cancerian aspect. A lot of it is coming from the heart. Now, in terms of those of you seeking a new job, Ace of Pentacles and Eight of Pentacles, looks very likely that you will get it, especially if it's after a period of exhaustion, Four of Swords, or waiting. The Jupiter-Pluto conjunction can make you very aware where you would like to do less and where you would like to invest more, because Jupiter amplifies things. If you're in an incredibly stressful job that's wearing you out and wearing you thin, it will be amplified and you will need to rest, particularly in Cancer season, because the more that you push yourself past a point of exhaustion, the more confusing your emotional life gets and the less you can see your options. In a period of stress, people are not good at seeing their options. They're not good at seeing the way out. That's why self-care is very important. And I was explaining this in the Cancer reading, and that self-care is not bubble baths, it's not pajamas, it's, well, you know, it is those things, but it's more to do with knowing when to stand up for yourself, which you do, but knowing when to say no, despite the fact that you so much want people to think that you can handle it all, because you do. Where the Neptune and Mars fogginess comes around with the Five of Swords, at some point in the middle of June, you may learn that certain people are not as trustworthy as you think. And I imagine for many of you, given the axis, it's to do with friendships more than anything else. But it's not to say that you should be mistrustful of everyone. It's just to say that with Neptune and Mars, particularly the link, a lot of your past fears in particular can be projected onto people in your life. And that's not to say that you are being irrational. It's just to say that certain things that you're trying to make peace with are clouding your judgment of your current situation. So in terms of, you know, making a job change or making a relationship change, or what it is that is stressing you out, you need to figure out where in your past it's maybe coming from. Because I think for a lot of you, Cancer season is going to give you a sense of where you want to go, but I think a lot of Gemini season is reflecting on where you've been. And I think in reflecting to where you've been, you've probably make some interesting interpretations. You probably make some interesting answers come to the fore in terms of those projections, in terms of expecting certain things from certain people. And it's almost as if there has been a situation where you've expected the same thing to happen over and over and over and over, so it has. June is about breaking that open and stopping that kind of momentum. Cancer season with the Chariot and the Page of Cups is a lot to do with sweetness. It's a lot to do with enjoying the moment for being the moment, enjoying the moment with those carefree expectations. You know, feeling as though things are going your way and being comfortable and trusting that they're going your way in terms of the journey. With Judgment, it is very likely that many Aries are dealing with water sign people, with Cancer, with Pisces, with Scorpio. But if it's not a water sign, it is a signal that Cancer season is about to make some big changes in your life path and where you're going. Seven of Wands, you have to stand up for yourself though. And where people from the past do reappear, just be cautious. Magician in the Moon. Just be careful that people aren't being manipulative when they do reappear. You know, because when you're charging off in this new momentum and you've got this drive back and you've had your past and you've made peace with it and you're going forward, just be careful that certain people from your past that are very prone to manipulation aren't going to see you going forward and want to drag you back. It often happens that way when people make peace with their past and want to move down a new road. It often occurs that the past comes knocking. Because it rarely comes knocking when you really want it to. It's whenever you get forward. And as I say, you've got some really nice things coming for you in July. Got some really nice things coming for you in June, but there is a little fog that you have to navigate first. Don't project your fears onto your current situation. You have a lot more movement, a lot more room for growth than you think you do. Right? Especially in terms of career. Queen of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups. Especially in terms of career. Know your worth. The June Jupiter-Pluto conjunction will probably show you if you're valued where you are, if you would rather have something else for yourself, if there's another opportunity, if there is something bigger. I will see you in the extended. Bye, Aries.